Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Canal Algérie's nightly news. On to the headlines. Following the phone call between the President of the Republic and President Emmanuel Macron, the Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Attaf talks with his French counterpart Jean-Noël Barrot ahead of his visit to Algeria on April 6th. Algeria calls on the UN Security Council to shoulder its responsibility facing the atrocities in Gaza. And the French political scene is facing the aftermath of Marine Le Pen's scandal with the EU Parliament. Welcome back. Following the phone call on the 31st of March 2025 between the President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, received a phone call from his French counterpart Jean-Noël Barrot. Barrot is expected on an official visit to Algeria on Sunday upon the invitation of his Algerian counterpart Ahmed Attaf. In this respect, the phone conversation was an opportunity for both ministers to review the main files that both heads of state requested to attach special attention to in the framework of a larger context to sterile dispute that have recently disrupted the course of Algerian-French relations. Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar bin Jama, called on the international community to shoulder its responsibility against this collective punishment, as he described, and war crimes. Let's listen.
This is a collective punishment. This is a war crime. Algeria requested this meeting because we firmly believe that this Council must speak with clarity and strength. This Council must fully embrace its responsibilities. This Council must ensure the implementation of its own decision. Failure to do so will result in the loss of any remaining authority, any remaining legitimacy. And the world, our constituency, will no longer respect neither the Council nor its deliberation. These people, these innocent civilians, deserve justice. To save life, we must put an immediate end to the ongoing onslaught. And our resolution 2735 should be fully implemented without delay. What is happening in Gaza is absolute horror, and such criminal behavior of the Israeli authorities must not go unchallenged. Mr. President, while we focus on the suffering in Gaza, we must not overlook the atrocities occurring in the West Bank. There also, the Israeli war machine has spared no part of the West Bank from its brutality.
In a related context, in Gaza, the Zionist aggressor is intensifying the attacks at a time where most hospitals are no longer fit for purpose. Even those who are lucky enough to find spots at hospitals are still facing death amid lack of equipment and medicine blocked by the Zionist occupier, in addition to targeted medical staff. After Marine Le Pen and her party's conviction for misappropriating public funds, far-right supporters have criticized the ruling and attacked judges online. An investigation into the online threats has been launched. Manal Maafa with the full story.
Spreading falsehoods in the media is not without consequences. In France, the legal drama surrounding Marine Le Pen continues following her conviction, which bars her from holding public office for 5 years with immediate effect. Since the March 31st ruling by the Paris Criminal Court in the so-called parliamentary assistance case, the leader of the national rally has persistently challenged the verdict. Despite the case spanning several years, it has surprisingly not hit headlines. The judges issued a detailed 152-page ruling, but the far-right party has strongly contested the decision instead. It has taken to 24-hour news channels, making serious accusations against those responsible for delivering justice.
Mais croyez-moi,
I am deeply concerned, but this ruling alone won't be enough. The presiding judge has been placed under protection, and on Tuesday the Paris prosecutor's office opened an investigation into threats against the far-right leader. The remarks deemed unlawful are now being handled by France's online hate crime unit.
Ces deux magistrats ont été victimes de cyberharcèlement.
2 magistrates faced cyber harassment and threats. 5 suspects have been identified and will be prosecuted and severely punished.
Identifiés et seront effectivement poursuivis et sévèrement condamnés.
Judicial authorities emphasize that threats against magistrates handling a case and political leaders questioning a court ruling are unacceptable in a democracy. They also stress that freedom of speech, including online, must not endanger individuals. The case involves fraudulent use of public funds or fake jobs at the European Parliament. Despite Le Pen's call to exit EU institutions, justice has been served after a thorough review.
Marine Le Pen n'est pas victime.
Marine Le Pen is not a victim, she is guilty. She gave fake jobs to her sister, sister-in-law, partner, driver and her father's butler, mounting to a total of over 4 million euros.
Un emploi fictif à son chauffeur.
Magistrates, politicians and civil society are outraged, condemning the double standards in the media, fueled by the far-right climate in the country. Many have reminded Marine Le Pen of her past rhetoric, calling for zero tolerance against political offenders. As the saying goes, charity begins at home. But the real question is, can the lesson be understood by Le Pen herself?
In France, protests are increasing in support of the Sahrawi cause. Last Sunday, human rights activists launched a march for freedom in Ivry, calling for the release of Sahrawi political prisoners in Moroccan jails. Started by Manal Maafa.
The human rights activists launched a march for freedom in France, demanding the release of Sahrawi political prisoners still held in Moroccan jails, like Naama Asfari, sentenced to 30 years in prison and denied visitation rights.
Vous êtes aux côtés du peuple sahraoui depuis de nombreuses années.
You have supported the Sahrawi people for years, and your commitment gives us courage and hope. Today we march for the liberation of our brothers and sisters unjustly imprisoned by Morocco, simply for claiming the basic right of the Sahrawi people for self-determination and independence.
Simplement, et je dis bien simplement, parce qu'ils ont osé réclamer les droits les plus élémentaires du droit du peuple sahraoui à l'autodétermination et à l'indépendance.
This is the first stage of a march through France and Spain to Qnitra prison in Morocco, where Claude Mongin's husband is held. Marching from March 30th to June, participants aim to raise awareness about the suffering of the Sahrawi people. This march has many implicit messages. French civil society supports the Sahrawi right to self-determination. There are MPs and parliamentarians partaking in this initiative, which proves what I'm saying. The participants denounced the flagrant violations of the Moroccan occupier and called for the immediate implementation of the right of the Sahrawi people for self-determination, as backed by the United Nations.
Coming up in our news edition. Normalization keeps dividing Morocco furthermore shaken by the scandal of human trafficking. Welcome back. In Morocco, normalization with the Zionist entity is overwhelmingly rejected by citizens, considering it as a threat to their national sovereignty. Yet another scandal that has fueled more tension in the country related to human trafficking and organized crime. More insights with Selim Mirah.
Despite the overwhelming rejection of normalization, the Mersin persists in serving the Zionist interests. The latest transgression, the forced expulsion of entire families from their homes and lands to make way for Zionist settlers, yet another blatant disregard for the rights of its own people.
العديد من الأراضي اليوم سلبت والعديد من المصانع أغلقت في بلادنا في الوقت
Millions have been ceded and numerous factories shut down, even as the country welcomes investors from the Zionist entity. This shift has introduced industries that pollute the environment and agricultural practices that consume vast amounts of water, resource already scarce in Morocco. As a result, the country has lost its sovereignty, with its decision-making increasingly dictated by foreign forces. Beyond its economic and territorial concessions, the Mersin is involved in serious human rights violations. It enables illegal migration network and facilitates human trafficking.
عبر الحواجز الأمنية اللي كاينة في الميناء ديال طنجة وتطلع بها.
A 6-month-old baby was found hidden in a suitcase intended to be smuggled into Italy to bypass security checks. By disregarding the will of its people, the Mersin undermines national interests and sacrifices Morocco's sovereignty for the benefit of foreign powers.
Let's head to Berlin now, where the third edition of the World Disability Summit is taking place in Germany with the participation of the Minister of War Veterans and Rights Holders, Leider Biga, tasked by the President of the Republic. During this summit, the minister recalled the commitment of the President of the Republic in regard to the taking charge of people in this situation, in addition to the strides made by Algeria under the leadership of the head of state, aiming at achieving inclusivity in society, preserving the rights of handicaps in all fields. Erbiga also underlined the commitment of Algeria to develop a national strategy for people with disabilities in the national solidarity sector, in coordination with the National Council of Handicaps, and promoting vocational training systems in their favor. The Minister of State, Minister of Energy and Mines and Renewable Energies, Mohamed Arqab, attended a meeting via video conference with 8 OPEC Plus countries, which have implemented voluntary production adjustments since April 2023. The ministers discussed the state of the global oil market and its future prospects. The participating countries decided to adjust production by 411,000 barrels a day during the month of May. This global and flexible increase, with the possibility of suspension or adjustment depending on market development, is intended to ensure continued support for the stability of oil markets. Participating countries also renewed their commitment to compensate for any excess production since January 2024. At the conclusion of the meeting, the ministers of the 8 OPEC Plus countries agreed to hold monthly meetings to monitor oil market developments and review compliance with agreements and compensation. The Minister of State, Minister of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, Mohamed Arqab, also participated via video conference in the 47th Extraordinary Session of the Council of Ministers of the Organization of African Petroleum Exporting Countries. Arqab emphasized the pivotal role of cooperation among OPEC member states in enhancing the exploitation of oil and gas resources and continuing efforts to support energy security in the African continent by diversifying funding sources and ensuring optimal exploitation of energy resources to serve the interests of member states. Participants also discussed the latest developments related to the launch of the African Energy Bank, which aims to promote investment in the hydrocarbons and energy sector in Africa. As part of the ongoing efforts to combat organized crime in all its forms and during a high-quality operation, combined detachments of the PNA, Customs and National Security under the Adrar military sector, the 3rd Military Region, seized on Wednesday, April 2nd, the quantity of hard drugs and cocaine estimated at 41 kilograms, as well as a utility vehicle. This operation illustrates once again the determination of the PNA units and the various security services to combat all forms of organized crime to preserve the security and stability of the country. Lastly, the National Football Championship resumes this weekend with several thrilling games, notably that brings CR Belouizdad to NC Magra, struggling to remain in the elite league. GS Kabylie will take on the home side of US Khenchla, while ES Mostaganem and US Biskra have to battle to win and thwart relegation. The end of our bulletin. Thank you for watching. Take care.